Alrighty then, we are live once again. The
Hey,
great
bro.
transition. Hey, what's up? What is up, everybody? We have Spain and India and Quebec here are already. Finland as well. All Utah in the house. First to inform us where they're watching from. Everyone who's
Hey,
tuning
everyone.
in, yes, tell us where you're watching from. Yeah, let's do a classic opening, Seth. Let's do a classic.
Let's do
I'll,
it.
I'll do a
By
classic
the way,
opening, okay?
your frame
What?
looks great. By the
Yeah.
way, your frame looks great.
Yeah, finally, my wife got on my case. It's like it can't look like this whole just moved frame.
That's very nice.
Yeah. Welcome to the Great Transition, everybody. If you are here for the first time or watching the recording for the first time, we're very happy to have you here with us. What Seth and I are doing on this show is we are exploring the great transition that is coming. Whether we like it or not, aware of it or not, it is coming. In the 21st century, humanity is developing into something that we didn't see before. We're becoming increasingly interdependent and interconnected across the globe. All of this, we will try to show, is a movement on behalf of nature, evolution. There's a bigger process to everything that we see on the news and that's happening to us in our social life, in our political reality. Everything has this evolutionary context, and we're trying to look at everything from this perspective without all the biases and differences between us of politics and religion and culture. So we're gonna zoom into things that are happening in this world, but then zoom out and see the bigger picture. That's what we are about in the Great Transition. So, how's that as a classic
That was
opener?
really
Does
nice.
that work?
Good classic open.
All right, all right. We got it.
Okay, so
We got a
you know,
title that says "Societies Splitting on Earth While NASA Goes to Mars." So, would you care to?
sure.
Yeah,
So let's ease our way into it. I know you know all things contemporary and happening in the world, so I'm sure you know about deep fakes. You know what
deepfakes.
deep
Sure,
fake?
sure. Yeah, I
Okay,
looked
so
into deepfakes. I think when it just came out, and I actually recently also had. I don't know if I told you that I had an appointment with a I can't remember if it's either Switzerland or Finland or Iceland or one of those lands. There is a startup company there who is the leader or one of the leaders in creating those what you call deepfakes, but for
is it like
commercial use.
Flybird or
I
Libird or
can't
something? Lyrebird or
remember.
something?
I can't
No?
even remember the country, and but it was a
Okay.
European, one of those European
For
countries
commercial purposes,
for commercial purposes. So
like for
we
any
were.
country who would want to make
s
dictate president of another country look like he just
well,
gave a speech about
the use I was inquiring about, me and a
yeah.
bunch of other friends that you are familiar with, we met with them and we said, is it possible? What does it take, and is it possible to create an avatar of this is what they do. This is their kind of their expertise. I mean, we they take like they create an avatar of Seth, and then they put whatever text into that avatar. For that, you need to provide them with some
Not
footage of
much, by the
you
way.
from different angles and all that, and then they build your 3D avatar, and I can then put whatever text into the avatar that will be
And
your
make me
avatar
say
saying
whatever.
whatever we want. Yeah,
Even after my contract expires, you could still have
yeah.
me yeah,
Now
I could
this
be an avatar right now, actually.
the technology is still in its, it's still baby steps. It's like it's not fully there yet. There's all like it's still kind of limited to be, you can't
You
like.
can't exactly completely fool everybody yet.
Yes, it's not there yet, and it takes time, and at the moment it's still. I mean, if you want them to do it for you, it's also expensive, and it takes some time to generate. But
So
it's an
there's
interesting thing. We saw some
there's some
examples. Yeah. Hmm.
there's some free software out there now where if with just It may have been taken down already, but just with a few short audio clips, you can make of someone or of yourself. You can then type in any words you want and have it speak like that. And you can even
Right.
have it do it in an excited way, in a sad way. So you're
Yeah.
talking about the visual one. So actually, the
Yes.
thing where there's points on a person's face
Yeah,
that
tracking
are used
points.
in CGI. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Computer generated stuff. They use it in movies all the time and stuff. So if they put those tracking points on you, and they get enough smiles and frowns, a few of
Yep.
them, and from different directions, they can build every possible expression for you. So imagine, for example, uh, you took a speech of Donald Trump saying we're going to, whoever, Joe Biden, we're going to nuke Russia, or whatever, and then somehow got that out onto every phone in Russia, right? And then Russia, for example, retaliates with the bomb before they
Even
realize that it
even
was
though
a
there's no
fake.
bomb. Yeah.
There was no bomb, right?
Right.
So,
Or
and or
some kids, some hacker kids in your daughter's school want to bully her in some very nefarious way, and they take her face and put it on a porn actress, and that goes out there into the internet.
okay. So, is
So
it any
horrible,
wonder?
horrible scenarios you
Okay, so
can
this
you
is
can
this is
imagine.
deep fakes, everyone. This is what
Hmm. Yeah,
which
why
when you
did
if you
we?
just
I didn't know we
uh,
were gonna start with this topic.
if
Okay,
so
anyway.
first of all, if you let that play out, it gets to the point where you can trust less and less of what you see. You can trust less and less of what you
Right.
hear, right? Because once it's known at the beginning, you don't know. Not everyone knows about deep fakes, but as soon as you know about deep fakes, you're like, I can't believe anything. So one of the things that we got during this global pandemic, and we looked for a long time of how is the world going to come together, how is the world going to be able to communicate with each other. Everybody is squaring off against everyone else, and now we have a common thing that the whole world is engaged in together. The whole world has a singular kind of focus right now.
Okay.
But in addition to that interesting new phenomenon, we also now have um, a culture of mistrust, a
Yes.
culture of right, a culture of fear,
Absolutely.
right. I don't
Absolutely.
know. Not only do I don't know if I'm going to have work.
It's like fake distrust and uncertainty is like the this like everything is fake, or you suspect it to be fake, so you don't really trust even what you're supposed to be trusting or what you would have trusted otherwise. And that
Yeah,
altogether culminates in greater and greater uncertainty. That's kind of
there's
like
even
this surreal world we're living in. Yeah.
there's even a level where we kind of knowingly remained ignorant. That also kind of happened, like around Christmas time and stuff. Everybody just gets like happy. And even if like there's still starving people, and even if whatever, we still just everything's okay, at least for the moment, right? Where it's
Mm,
like, Friday comes and we just, yes, it's the weekend. I'm going to hang out with my friends. I'm going to party. I'm going to sleep late. Like we just kind of push the all of the overdue mortgage and the credit card debt, and we just kind of we kind of buy into this thing. And that happened with governments also. Like we
mm,
understood there was corruption, and we understood, like after the 2008 collapse in Wall Street, that like people who worked their entire lives and had retirement accounts are completely wiped out, but the Wall Street billionaires like were bailed out by taxpayer money.
mhm,
But like, okay, we just kept kind of going because that's what this force, the government or whatever, is just so big that what are you going to do about it? We just kind of allowed ourselves. I'm working two jobs and I'm upset, and my spouse is working two jobs, and but we just keep going. What else are we going to do? We just keep kind of doing our thing and waiting for Friday or the week. But now during this pandemic, like even that is like that veil that we used to be able to kind of just cover ourselves with so we could just continue, it's kind of falling away.
Yeah.
And there is just like
Not completely though. Not completely,
not yet and not
but
everywhere,
yeah.
but it's starting.
But yeah.
the 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 ropes, it's like in the movie when you see the rope and it's starting to fray and it's starting to fray, and you know that
Mm.
like it's just a matter, they keep going back to it, or like the countdown on the bomb, and you see like Tom Cruise, he's like trying to save the world and do this, and then they go back and the thing is counting down. It's like it's starting to fray. We're getting closer and closer to it, but in general, what we see now is that people distrust the government more and more and more
You know what? Just another. I'm just seeing
everywhere.
some Spencer says maybe deep fakes will push us to focus our trust and communication on the people in front of us. That could be a good thing. The Yeah, just another point about the deep fakes before we go to another thing. I think it's there. It's kind of a it's a funny scenario that we're in because you know what do you believe, you know, from what the politicians say anyway. You know, in any case, they're like, you know, they're speaking on, you know, by looking on a teleprompter most of the time. Someone else wrote it for them, you know, and typically all of what
No, but it's
there's
like
all
when
that
you're
they
a young
say.
kid,
Yeah,
when you're a young kid, um, my mom said this thing to me once, when I became a dad. She goes, when you were little, I don't know if you guys have this in your culture, do you count, does a parent count like 1, 2, 3, like do it by the time I get to 3 or you're going to get
I
punished or
think it's
whatever? You have that
universal.
also?
It's a
That's universal.
universal
So my
thing.
mom said to me
Yeah,
like,
it's a very interesting thing, by the way. There's a comedian. That's a small tangent. There's a comedian that goes off about that. He has a bit on. I can't remember who that is, but he has a bit on all those things parents say to children, and you. It's so funny that it's so universal. So universal, like, you know, you're gonna get your eye, you're gonna poke your eye out, or
yeah.
things like that. It's
Huh.
like it's the same sayings. You know, I think teachers and parents, there's a universal quality to it that it doesn't matter language and culture. It's like the same things repeat themselves. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, yeah.
So she said to me when I became a dad, she goes, I didn't know what, if you didn't listen to me by the time I got to 3, I didn't know what, like, thank God it worked because I wasn't sure what I was going to do if I ever got to 3. So there's
Your mother
a
told
point.
you that?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a point with kids
That's
where like
fun.
you
That's
you
fun.
kind of like you threaten them or whatever, 1, 2, and they listen, right? But then there's a certain point where the kid becomes a teenager and he's like, yeah, okay, now what?
And
4?
what?
What and
And
what? What are you gonna do? He's like, I'm out of here. So
oh
that's
man.
what I'm seeing here with the public. It's like they're coming into like the next phase of development where even though they knew there was problems, they knew these people are corrupt. They knew that they're maybe what the parents are saying is not right, or what the politicians are saying is not right, and it's reading off a teleprompter or whatever. But what are they going to do about it? What am I going to do about it? But now
Yeah.
that this whole kind of society wide despair kind of setting in, it's like we kind of care less and less, not only about them, also about celebrities, and also about movies and all that kind of stuff. So uh, there is less and less trust of all of these kind of, okay, here we go. This is from this big study called the Edelman Trust Barometer. Anyone can look it up. It's a very recent. But basically,
Okay.
do we think people are ethical? That's the y-axis, the up and down. Either if they're ethical, they go up. If they're unethical, they go down. And do we think they're competent? If they're
Okay.
competent, we go to the right, and if they're not competent, we go to the left. So government.
Wait, but who asked who here? What are we what kind of
Okay,
survey is this?
we're just dipping our toe into the pool before we jump in. I just want to show you kind of a
Okay.
picture. I don't want to get into the whole thing. It's the Edelman Trust Barometer. You can look it up if you want. In general, many people were questioned across different this and different that. And in
All right.
general, this is what we're seeing, that government is seen as unethical and incompetent. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
media is seen as unethical and incompetent. There is still, it looks like people feel that in business, there's, I don't know why, but there's, they're more competent, I guess, because they have to be, otherwise they would go out of business,
Mm-hmm.
and not super high on the ethical scale. Not as high, I mean, higher than media, higher than government. Anyway, thank you, Chris. Um,
That's
and
interesting, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
it's nice.
so
Mm-hmm.
Chris, can you put it up for one more second?
Yeah,
He
put it.
also
Maybe
compares
put it. Let it sink for a second. Yeah.
the
So
lighter shade
government is the worst. Yeah. Then.
is on the bottom left, right? So
Yeah.
the lighter shade is 2020, and the darker one is, I guess, the projected for 2021. 2021 just started. Looks like
Mm.
everything got a little bit of an upgrade, but
Mm-hmm.
anyway, in general, we all feel this. We don't need to see a picture
Yeah, but
to get
yeah.
us to understand that. So the pandemic fueled this culture of uh, of of mistrust, of fear. More and more small businesses are closed, more and more big businesses stay open. We talked on Thursday about this small guy going up against the big guy on Wall Street, and he gets shut down. More and more people are without a stimulus check from the government. You have hunger. People don't think their kids are going to have it better than they do. So a lot of problems, right? So
Yeah.
along comes, for example, in Russia. So Vladimir Putin, by the way, has been, I'm not an expert at all on these things, but just from what I've been ascertaining a bit here and there, he's been the president there since we were teenagers. So like since the 90s, at least like 20 years.
Yeah. At
And
least yeah, something like that.
they passed some new law that he can be president until 2036. So he's in it, right? He was also like a KGB guy before that. And in general, he's a pretty powerful dude, and not really smart to go against him. So it turns out, in a very cool Hollywood kind of way, they poisoned whoever, somebody, not he, I don't know who it was, poisoned the opposition, the guy who's running against him. Now, who's the guy who's running against him? The guy who's running against him was a guy, Navalny. Everyone's
Right.
heard of this
Yes.
guy in
Yes.
the
Yes.
news now. So he
Navalny.
was
Yeah.
right. So he was poisoned. He survived. Then he came back to Russia. He was arrested, and he's in jail now. Okay. So
What a
he
thriller,
was,
huh?
yeah. So he apparently, this is, now let's just not be naive as we go through the story. Let's not be naive. Okay. But let's look at it on the surface, and then we'll go a little bit deeper. So he had some kind of anti-corruption foundation, and they looked into corruption of government officials, and seeing, like, this was his work, right? his
The
his
opposition
work.
guy, the opposition
Yeah,
leader.
who was
Okay.
behind him, I don't know, but he would find things about real estate, business, big boats,
Hmm.
the dig on family members of politicians, all that kind of stuff.
So
So
he was
he went to
investigating corruption. Yeah.
something like that. Okay.
Okay.
So, but so on the surface, oh, here's our guy, right? The peace guy against the big dictator, whatever. Okay. So
Yeah.
he wanted to run for mayor, I think, or whatever it's called, of Moscow. He couldn't because of some corruption charges against him.
Oh,
Now,
this is the good
hold on.
guy.
This is a good
Okay.
guy. Now, did he really have corruption charges against him, or did the media just say he had corruption charges? But let's just say,
Right.
okay, so he had corruption charges against him. Okay. It's
Okay.
it's also funny that there was a video of him from whenever, I saw it on Twitter, where he compares Muslims to cockroaches, and uh, he's shown using a gun to. Oh, look at this, Chris. You have it. Okay, so this is the guy. Do you have audio too, Chris?
So this
And
is
he,
Navalny, yeah. This is
yeah,
the opposition leader in Russia who is now,
do,
and
doing
he's
it.
arrested
Chris,
right
can you
now,
rewind and give
right?
us?
He's under
Rewind,
arrest
yeah,
by the Putin
Chris, rewind
administration.
and give us audio if you can. So anyway, it's a video on Twitter. You can find it, where he's comparing Muslims to cockroaches, and he uses a gun on one. So this is the This is the guy
Wow.
who's like against, yeah, right. So it's
Wow.
this. So basically, the maybe he's better, maybe he's not better. It's not the point. The point is nobody is clean in these games. Okay, nobody is clean in these games at all. Maybe some are dirtier than others, and that goes in every country. Um, but the point here is there is no good on the right, and there is no good on the left. Maybe even we would say there's no bad on the right and there's no bad on the left. Why? And now here's the point that I've been trying to drive at for 10 minutes here, and how it relates to the great transition. We were all born with qualities, whatever our qualities are. I was born with Vladimir Putin's qualities. I was born with Joe Biden's qualities. We have been living our lives as if they are my qualities, right? I mean, not theirs, mine. Seth, I've been living my life as the qualities that I have are mine. And
Mm-hmm.
each one's been living, those are my qualities. And these are, and the other guy says, these are my qualities. And then they fight it out for whose qualities are better, whose qualities can, whatever.
Yeah,
Here's the
that's
change.
basically. I'd add to it qualities and traits and worldviews and opinions and views and properties. Everything that I'd add to it, all of that. And basically, what we're doing right now is just kind of mine is better than yours. I am better than you.
Suppose,
Kind of that's
suppose,
yeah.
suppose your spouse is an introvert and you're an extrovert, right?
Okay.
So you sit there in therapy trying to figure out how to soften the edges because you want to be like that, and what's wrong with you because you're always like that, and what's, you always just want to be out and hanging out and everything like that, so you need to calm it down, and she always just wants to be home like that, so she needs to step it up. And no, it's like we're missing everybody just trying to squash everything. No, here's the thing: these qualities that each of us has, introvert, extrovert, or tyrant, or Mother Teresa, whatever it is, whatever these qualities that a person has, they actually don't belong to the person. The whole gig here, the whole big reveal that we're going through is that we are all interconnected, that all of humanity is part of one mechanism. And when we bring each of these qualities together and learn to integrate them correctly through correct education, Elon Musk, I think, calls it something like first principles. First
Mm.
principles, it's like most people, what we do is we look at those around us and we kind of copy that. And that's how we build our what we're doing. First principles means like, what is the like lowest common denominators? Like, what
Mm.
can we, like in the wisdom of Kabbalah, we talk about like the will to receive. Like, if we don't agree on that, right, we have to have these fundamental things that we agree on, and from there we can build. Um, in the world here today, we don't even have any kind of we don't have fundamentals that we can agree on. We can't even agree about boys, what's a boy and what's a girl. I mean, we can agree on almost nothing. And that's like this whole split between the politicians and the split between everything. So these qualities of ours, the fundamental kind of first principle is that we are all interconnected. And then I'm not so concerned about whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. What I'm interested in is how can we connect well? Because once we connect well, once we connect together correctly with all of these qualities, reality, what I actually perceive, starts to come into focus in a totally different way. I start perceiving the world in a new way, new possibilities, new emotions, new opportunities.
Yeah. The I want to go, but I want to go, not leave Russia for a second, because I think there's more to get out of that. The it's I think what we're seeing right now is, and it has to do with what you talked about, is societies are becoming more and more divided around their governments and leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
in turn, what you have is a growing, developing, escalating crisis of leadership, crisis of governance. So, on the one hand, I think what we're seeing is that leaders themselves, they don't know how to lead. They can't govern their own people. We didn't go into that, but if you go, one of the things that are happening right now in Russia is all these protests that are I don't know how much of it we see on the mainstream media, but if you go to people's Twitter feeds and if you look into it a little bit deeper, you see what's happening on the streets. It's not that great uh, of a of a view. Um, yeah, okay. Chris is showing some things. Yeah,
No, here's
protests in
Asaf,
support of
here's here's
yeah.
something we also have to consider. If CNN is showing it,
Yeah,
you wonder
it
how
means
much.
it's in their favor in one way or another to show it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's there. It's there. Chris, if you can find some of the Twitter stuff that's just by people on the street kind of things, because right, if CNN is showing it, whether that's my side or not, I have to realize that that's a narrative. That's Hollywood. That's showing me a movie.
Yeah,
There's a script.
it pays off and it's important for someone. It's beneficial for someone for some interest to show you that, and that's why you're seeing it on CNN. Of course.
There was a
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so it's that's what I
Okay.
try and do when I'm scouring
Okay,
the
so
news. Is
so
just
so the bigger
go
picture,
ahead.
is this. We've got the public dividing, becoming increasingly more divided. We see it in Russia. It's also somewhat to some extent happening in Russia or sorry, in China.
Very
Um,
interesting. What's going to happen in China between
yeah,
Hong
I
Kong
think
and
there's a lot
Taiwan
of
and yeah,
all of that, and there's a lot of stuff bottled up there. Um, you have
yeah,
to,
like a few thousand years of ego that's been held down of
it's
development.
something's gonna like pop or erupt there. It's that's
Yes,
anyway. China as a whole, that's a whole thing. So that's brewing as well. And then you have what's happening very typically, very seems like it's a very repetitive thing in Western countries, in the Western world, where the left and right
Italy,
are
France, Germany,
so,
yeah,
yes, so divided on the background of views and how that is,
England.
and these conflicts are perpetuated by mainstream media and so on. So you have a public societies around the world that are becoming more and more divided, and you have leaders that don't really know how to govern. And also today, in the current paradigm of leadership, maybe half of what you're dealing with is not actually leading anything or doing anything productive. You're busy with damage control for
Fending
your
off, yeah,
image in
fending
the
off people are
media.
coming for your life.
Yeah, exactly. The damage control for what they say about me in the media, and making sure that the opposition stays at bay, and crushing dissent, and so on. It's like, so there's this constant war that just makes governance unproductive. Just everything is just becoming so unproductive. And then so this is like two trajectories that we're seeing at the same time: the crisis of governance and the social conflict, the social division that is expanding. And so I think on the one hand we see a good thing here. The good thing is, I think that with that and the awareness that we are becoming so connected and interdependent across the globe, there is not really any benefit in going to war so much. You know what I mean? It's like it's not very beneficial. It's not worthwhile for countries to actually think about war, which used to be a solution in the past, and that's a good thing. That's a good thing. I mean, I can't
This
make
is a
a
very interesting.
yeah.
This is a very interesting kind of new update about what's happening in the world. That who the heck wants to start a nuclear war right now?
Yeah, it's just the idea of war is becoming, because of this mutually assured destruction that we're in, because we're so interdependent and we can destroy each other so easily, and everyone's economy is dependent on what's happening in the other side of the world, and industry and production. All of those threads make it irrelevant to try to conquer the world as empires wanted to do in the past, and even to start a war becomes something that is not beneficial. So we're locked into this state where we're all interdependent on the one hand. On the other hand, countries are experiencing this crisis of governance, can't lead their people, can't effectively lead. Their public distrusts them and is divided. And so we're going to need a new concept, like a new idea, a new kind of way and a prism through which to see social life in a in a given country, and how a public can be led, and how we can run this interdependent world. There's these dead ends that we're coming into. So it's on the political level, it's on the social level, and now with the pandemic, it's also on the economic level. Yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, Chris. Yeah, I had that in mind at some point, and I forgot. Yeah, that's a good one. So Putin was in. There was a World Economic Forum meeting. So
Davos.
these people, yeah, these people who are. I think I didn't go into all the details. I'm not that interested, but I think this time they did it all virtual, or semi-virtual, or something like that. Anyway, so Putin says there's another title. Chris look for it, where he says "End of civilization is near" or something like that.
I saw that.
so
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 I mean, listen, if you gotta also look at who's saying it.
exactly.
There was
Oh,
a
it's
video that this
I.
guy Navalny came out with.
I'm gonna find it. Yeah. What
Okay, look
video?
for that. He came out with a video of There you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Let's do this for a second.
Don't
So
hide the
Putin
source, Chris. Come
put.
on, don't hide the source. I saw you.
So
He doesn't want to show that it's from the Daily Beast.
Daily Mail, I think.
Daily
This
Mail,
one.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, well, he said what he said in Russian. There was translation. Maybe it's not 100% accurate, and there's other
Maybe he
articles
didn't
that
actually mean end of civilization
that
when he said it.
yeah, exactly. But let's look at the gist of what he's saying. Putin warns of the end of civilization and a global all-out fight with COVID, growing inequality, and a rise in populism as potential triggers for conflict. Now, like what you just started saying is, look who's it coming from.
Okay,
The
so hold
lead.
on.
The,
Oh, yeah. So
yeah.
Chris, you have the video that of the castle. So here's the guy who's saying that it's going to be okay. So this news also came out this week, which is apparently a $1 billion palace complex of Putin. That apparently, where did a president get billions of dollars? So apparently he was siphoning off quote unquote taxpayer money to build this $1 billion. Thank you, Chris.
Oh,
This
I saw
dollar
this.
palace. Okay, so first of
What
all,
and what you're
he
seeing
hung.
right now, I don't know if Chris is gonna how much of this we're gonna see, but we've seen only one complex. This is like a city. It's like a city that they say that he
Yeah.
owns or something like that. Yeah.
So the person who exposed the video was this guy Navalny. He did it from while he was in jail. So the point is,
So his team
his team
released the video.
released it while the
Okay.
guy is in jail, meaning like while Putin's people are holding him, he puts out a video showing the population that Putin is stealing from you while he's in Putin's jail. So
Right.
first of all, did some other country, did the CIA collect
And
this
he
video
warns
for
about
him?
inequality. I mean, you can go into whatever you believe, whether this is real or not.
Let's say everything is
It's not a
BS.
question that Putin is at least a millionaire, if not a billionaire. This is a
I think
known
they
thing
say
that
he's
he's not.
like many billion, hundreds of
Yeah,
billions.
yeah.
Okay,
So
so the idea is that this guy who's worth billions and has, whether or not this is actually his palace or whatever, he's worth billions, right? He's saying that the people uprising is a problem for everyone.
yes, and more even funnier for me is like that inequality is a problem.
Growing inequality is a
The
problem for
growing
everyone.
inequality, that's
It's
a
not
problem.
even a commentary at this point. It's like postmodern. It's not even a commentary on him, and it's not even a commentary on the people protesting in the street.
Yes, good point.
It's really that there is some center that has to come to life. Like a sperm and an egg couldn't be more different. They could not be more different. Hydrogen and oxygen, well, they could are actually not so different, but they have different qualities. But if they hold their own, you'll never get water. If these things combine correctly, then you get water, then you can have life. So we're not, as we go through the great transition, this is kind of the zoom out. So we zoom in, we look at what's all the moving pieces on the ground, who are the players, what's the story in the news, and then we zoom out. Say, okay, we're not going to be like everyone else who's just going to look at this as some kind of political commentary, and even we're not going to. Chris writes, oxygen loves to steal electrons. we tolerate oxygen stealing electrons because we get water. So it's not a bad quality that he's a good thief, right? Um, when we're zooming out, we're not yet. Tell me.
Now, the H2O, the reality of water comes from the fact that both the hydrogen and the oxygen are capable of integrating in a new way. They're capable of complementing each other in a way that no part can do on its own, right?
And thus
Now,
life.
and exactly. And now, on every level of nature, you see that ability to integrate different pieces together into a single whole,
And
to
even opposite
complement.
pieces.
And opposite pieces, yes, opposite pieces, opposite forces, opposite qualities. So they are able to come together without canceling each other. That's an important thing. That's an important point. You don't have a cancellation, a deletion of one quality in favor of another quality. You have a mutual complementation. You have an integration that's happening. You have a certain kind of incorporation where they both come together in a way that they didn't see before. And so, if you think about the process that we're going through in a similar way, now now it makes sense that people are becoming increasingly divided, that the societies of today in 2021 can't come to a point where where we have some system that we trust, where there's a crisis of governance, because that actually makes all the sense in the world. Our governments are failing and our leaders are clueless because that we have to that's the one thing that we have to completely upgrade, to radically change, which is the form of human governance, how human society conducts itself. We have to, if we want to evolve to our next degree of, if we want to cope with the interdependence that is now governing us across the globe, we need to become adapted. We need to adapt ourselves to that law of nature. We need to see our dependence on each other as a law of nature that we need to be like, to be similar to. Know what I mean? The
Nature's
Yeah.
making it more easy for us. It feels maybe
Easy? How
painful.
easy? Why
Okay,
easy?
so well, I mean, versus nuclear war, it's very
Oh,
easy.
okay.
Um, okay,
Okay.
so maybe this is the same in other places. In the United States, you could categorize the kind of conservatives and the liberals. The conservatives, they are not as open-minded, right? They're not so into gay rights. I'm not saying they're against, but I'm just saying in general, more conservative. It's more traditional, things like that, right?
Right.
And they're into, so they're not as open.
At least that is the common
I'm just giving
understanding about.
generalizations.
Yes, of course.
On
Yeah.
the conservative side, it's not as open, and it is more respectful of authority, police,
Yeah.
military, parents, church elders,
Right.
clergy, things like that. On the left,
Authority, borders. Yeah.
right,
Okay.
borders. Okay, on the left with liberals,
Order. Yeah.
very, very open, right? Order. On the left, very open. art, even uh, art that challenges you, even art that maybe seems offensive. We're very open, right? We accept everyone. You can be
Mm-hmm.
any gender, you could be one of 1,000 genders. We accept everyone, and they're not so into authority, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
have more closed and into authority, and more open and not into authority. Now, New York City in the 70s and 80s, there were nightclubs everywhere. I remember when I was in high school at the beginning of the 90s, you could go into New York, and there was music everywhere. You could just hear it. You could walk down the street and there would be, some cities still have this live music coming out of, dozens of places. And there was artists and there was graffiti. And then came Giuliani, and it became more strict, and they closed everything. All that got closed. Everything became high end apartments, high end
Right.
retail. No more homeless on the streets. No more graffiti. The economy, boomed. Very different. What happens though? There's nowhere to go see live music unless you want to pay, $200 for, some theater somewhere. There's no more art in the street. There's very
Mm-hmm.
little graffiti. Everything is just corporate art. Everything is
On
corporate,
the other
corporate, corporate.
hand, crime rates went down dramatically,
No
and
crime.
yeah,
Right. So you want art, you want creativity, you want vibe, but you also want to have uh, good infrastructure. You want to have order. You want to be able to feel that you can walk down the street without getting mugged. So there's
yeah,
what's going to left to its own devices without nature, humanity would just keep bashing. First the right wind's bashed, and the left wind's bashed, and the right wind's bashed. So why I'm saying that nature's kind of coming closer to us by kind of removing this desire for war and things, like it's wearing us down. It is wearing everyone down until we're going to be able to say, we have to find this middle. We have to find this center between these two things. We're not telling the left they got to go die, or whatever. We're not telling the right they have to. We have to find a new place where everybody.
yes, and okay. No, I'm in the big picture of things, the big picture of evolution. If you look at even the creation of planet Earth, it took billions of years of the cooling force of the planet fighting with the heating force of the planet, and each time one force was triumphant over the other, one force overpowered the other, and each time there was an eruption of cold or an eruption of warmth, right? But these two forces, if you look from the perspective of billions of years, they were as if dancing together to find the exact configuration and the exact amount of mutual pressure and mutual integration so that they can come to the point where there is heat inside the planet, at the core of the planet, and yet there is a cool crust that covers that heat at the exact required balance for the biosphere, the biological life to emerge on the face of the planet. And then when the biological life evolves on the planet, again, you have these two opposite forces fighting in all kinds of different ways and dancing together in all kinds of different ways, whether it's through contraction and expansion and ebb and flow and plus and minus and inhale and exhale and male and female. And these two forces of nature just continuously continue to dance together until they find that correct integration where a new level of life emerges. And that's where we are today as human
So
beings.
here's the unique part about where we are.
Okay.
All of those past ones, right? When you're talking about the formation of the earth, it took billions of years. When you're talking about the
Yes.
formation of vegetation, it's hundreds of millions,
Yeah.
right? And then to become an animal, to become a monkey, and then from monkey to become a human. So it gets shorter and shorter. But here's the
Yes.
magic. Here's the great transition. We have a mind that is thousands and thousands and thousands of times more powerful than the body. We don't have to wait for generation after generation through slow battles of this versus this. We now can do it in our lifetime through this heart and mind development. We can have the battle
It
inside ourselves
it
and not
means
in.
it means two things. It means we can sort of take the reins, like you say, and start um, pushing forward, as if moving faster than evolution is pushing us to move forward. It also means that we have to be conscious in the process. So while the planet evolves with these two opposite forces of heat and cold, and the biosphere evolves with these two opposite forces of plus and minus in all their varied manifestations, all of those processes happen instinctively. They happen automatically. They happen because evolution is a program that knows how to get the two opposite forces of nature to work together and build the next level of life. But in our case, it doesn't happen just automatically because we're at a point in evolution where evolution is conscious of itself. We are the conscious part of the evolutionary process, and therefore we
You
have
could
to
say you,
participate.
you could say
It,
actually that if we don't participate, if we just somehow become so stubborn that we don't participate, was it Einstein? He said, I don't know how World War III will be fought, but World War IV will be with sticks and stones.
yeah.
If we don't participate, nature will eventually, when there's 10,000 people left on Earth, they'll be like, hey, guys, why don't we think it'd be a good idea if we all just get along?
Maybe let's try something else.
Let's try it. Yeah. So we have an opportunity here. We have an opportunity.
But it's yeah, it's a complicated thing though, because the very reason that why we can't see this, why we can't get along, why we can't mutually complete each other, why we can't integrate with each other well, is the very is the same reason uh, why we are conscious. You know what I mean? There's a paradox
No, no
here.
idea.
Okay, so if we were like H2O, we'd just be finding our correct kind of integration like magnets, just automatically pulled into each other. Whoops,
Just running the software and
new
just
thing, that's it, and new thing happens. Water, that's great. Bacteria, fought each other for millions of years. If you ask evolutionary biologists, they'll tell you they fought each other for millions of years until they understood that they can share responsibilities, that it's actually more economic, more beneficial to feed each other with what each other needs versus fighting each other. And then they started creating
hold on.
super multicellular organisms, right? What?
So just what you said right there.
Yeah.
Why don't we do what bacteria did? It's way more beneficial to have a
Ye-
good life and not worry about people killing us and for everyone to have food than it is for us to constantly be fighting against each other
so
and pissed off at each other
so
every single
that's
day.
and that's the cool paradox here. So the reason that we cannot get along with each other is the very meaning of being human. That is what gives us our consciousness. So we have to be at a point where we are hateful of each other and this not trusting each other, and
Why?
there's a crisis of governance and there's a
Wait,
crisis of
why?
social
Break it
division.
down.
We
Why?
have to, because otherwise we'd have no sense of our own existence. We'd have no sense of ourselves as conscious independent beings. We have to become independent, and
There's
that
something here.
means growing in separation from each other. But
Explain the
then,
concept of,
yeah,
hold on. Explain the concept of knowing something through its opposite, because I think that's going to open this up a little more, make it simple to understand for me.
we could go there. But the example that comes to my mind is more like the embryo in the womb. So the embryo in the womb, is it alive or is it not alive?
It's
You know,
alive.
what makes it alive? It's alive if you ask who? If you ask the mother. And there's even a debate about that. There are laws. There's one part of your country is fighting for, pro-abortion laws, and the other part, how do you call it there in the U.S.?
Pro-choice.
Pro-life
But what does
and
that have to do with
pro-choice.
anything?
Wait,
Why
wait,
have
wait,
to
wait,
use
wait.
so no, break it down. Don't do
No,
something
no,
that's
no, 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 no. I'm helping. It is a helpful example. Listen to the end.
you're
The
helping by hurting.
no, listen. Listen.
I'm saying, all
The
right.
I'm saying the
I was
fact
gonna say
that
use something not a controversial
no, no, no.
example.
I want to use the controversy as an example. Why is
Okay.
it controversial? Because it's hard for people to agree on whether the embryo is alive or not alive. There's other aspects to this argument, of course, but this is one central thing, and you can debate it. You can debate it, and it's not clearly understood and accepted by both sides. And
It's
that's
just such
why
an emotionally charged example that it's hard to think about the
there's
example without.
many other aspects to it, of course, but I'm just looking at one thing. I'm just using one aspect of it as an example.
Okay.
Why
Okay.
am I using this example? Because
I don't know.
I'll tell you if you
Okay.
let me finish. The the no, you're right. Disclaimer. Yeah, it's emotionally charged. Okay, yeah, I agree. The whole country is fighting about it. Yes. Religion. Okay, what else? Yeah, everything goes into the mix here with this question. I get it. But what I wanted to say is just to point out that that the embryo in the womb has is found in a perfectly balanced state. There is an environment that grows it and nurtures it and gives it everything it needs, and it's in perfect balance. But it has no consciousness, independent consciousness, that we can all agree on this embryo being independently conscious. It has to get out of the womb, out of that care and concern and love and warmth and this program that completely takes care of all of its needs. It has to be separated from it and grow with the awareness of being independent. It has to be out there in the world, breathing on its own, detached from after a few years, even detached from the mother's
Takes years even.
breast.
Yeah.
Yes, and it takes time to develop that independence, just so we can do what? So we can feel independent and on its own and walking on its two legs and eating and breathing and doing everything that it needs to do by itself for itself. And then it can maybe grow to become a parent as well and understand a new level of connection with with his mother, if he becomes a parent as well, and they can understand each other on a whole new level. But the embryo could never do that. And so if you look at humanity's evolutionary process as a similar process of birth and growth and maturation, and then identification with the laws that created us, with the evolution of life that we're part of, with the part of this natural system that we're part of, then in order for us to be a conscious partner with the natural system, if that's what nature wants from us, then it has to push us out first. It has to make us independent. It has to make us unequivocally separated, isolated from that program of wholeness and integration and mutual connection and harmony. We have to live in a world with distrust and fake news and conflict and social
Why?
division
Break it
and
down again.
crisis
Why
of
do we?
governance, because only from that state of being detached from the wholeness of nature, we can be independent to then regain a conscious sense of nature's wholeness. Without that independent separation, we will never achieve the conscious connection.
Okay. So here's what we talked about earlier. So to achieve that wholeness of nature, that new wholeness of nature, though, with the embryo, it happens naturally. What we're talking about now is to achieve that, we need to connect with others. There's that's how we do it. It's not something that is done as an individual. Whereas the embryo becoming a person, it's funny when you gave this example because it's like the embryo goes from this perfect, warm, safe
Yes.
environment. And when does he reach his development? When he's depressed. That's how you know he became his own person. He goes from total comfort to just being, oh, this life is just,
And look at, we mentioned teenagers, right? And like the 1 2 3 thing in the beginning, it's actually very relevant. The teenage years are all about rebellion, right? They're all about rebelling your parents. They're all about despising authority, despising the very womb that gave birth to you, rejecting it. Why? Because you have to determine your independence as a person, and that happens to you in your teenage years. And so humanity has to go through those teenage years and the terrible twos and the embryo and everything else eventually to say, um, maybe there's a new way we can live together if we start making conscious efforts to connect with each other
so that's the
above
new
our unique egos that we've developed. That's
so
the new humanity. Yeah.
that's the new humanity. So our becoming conscious humans now is about us taking this thing that we were born with, these qualities of whoever I am. I'm oxygen, you're hydrogen. And now I'm just shepherding this quality to the center. Each one is kind of just shepherding their quality through the billions of years of evolution, just shepherding the quality that they were given, the pixel that they became,
Yes. Yes.
to this big picture.
Evolution gave you the unique set of Seth qualities, the unique set of Seth qualities that only Seth can have. And it also gave the left this liberalness and openness, and artsy fartsy kind of inclination and proclivity. And it also gave other people the sense of the importance of law and order and authority and so on. And it gave other people all kinds of things. But we at the moment are still like the plus of minus that are trying to find how they can build something that works. We're like the heating force and the cooling force that still haven't found that exact balance to create the next level of life on Earth. We are dancing and struggling together until we can come to the right kind of configuration. And here's the thing, we're not going to be able to find it with our own minds, with our own intellect. It's not that some scientist, or some psychologist will start saying, okay, we can, if we just be more empathetic towards each other, then we
Since
can
we're in the
make it
last minute,
happen.
since we're in the last minute of the show, let's tie it in together. And we're not going to find it on Mars. We didn't
Now
get a
we
chance to
we
tell you
just we justify the
during the last
title.
hour.
Now we justify the title. Yeah. Okay. So if you were wondering why NASA going to Mars was in the title, we've just justified it. It all makes sense now. So you know what? Let's end with a cliffhanger. So in the next edition of the Great Transition, we will talk about what does it really take to bring two opposite qualities, two opposite forces, two opposite realities into one integrated whole on the level of the human being. Maybe we can take that challenge upon us for the next show and try to delve into that.
It was awesome,
Yeah.
awesome to be together with you today. Great conversation, a lot of fun. Thank you, everyone, for being here with us. Big hug. We'll
Yeah.
see you
Yeah, I'm
Thursday at
sorry
2.
if I offended anyone. I think you made it a much bigger deal than it would really was. For
All
So
good,
it's really Seth if you got offended by something.
as usual. All
Do
right.
we have a song to
We got a
wrap it
song.
all?
We sure do. Thank you, everyone. Lots of love. See you next
Yes.
time.
Thank you for the compliments on the background. um, ooh. 2 p.m. Eastern, Thursday.
I learn what they know. Just a child, I learned by watching you. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. Can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine what will happen. To belong, to come here as a friend. The light is strong to touch our soul at last. I need you to show me something good. Show me how. Can't do it without you. We're not waiting for something to happen. We determine